The key wouldn't turn. It was a tiny sound, metal scraping against metal, but it split the air like a warning. Evelyn Brooks frowned, tried again, jiggling the brass key that had opened that same lock for 20 years. Nothing. The late afternoon sun burned her shoulders. The scent of cut grass drifted from the neighbor's yard. Somewhere, a dog barked once, sharp and distant. Evelyn felt her heartbeat rise to her throat. She tried again. Still nothing. And then it hit her. They had changed it. Her hand trembled on the knob. A single line of sweat slid down her temple. For a long second, she stood there on the porch, her suitcase beside her, staring at the door of the house she had cleaned, paid for, and protected through 4 decades of hard labor. Her voice came out a whisper. My God. They changed the lock. The door opened before she could knock. Sloane stood there, barefoot, flawless, phone in one hand, a smoothie cup in the other. Oh, Evelyn, she said, with a slow, polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. You're back earlier than expected. Evelyn blinked. My house, she said quietly. Why doesn't my key? We changed it, Sloane interrupted, her tone flat. Jason and I decided it was time for an update. The air inside smelled of lemon cleaner and new paint, but nothing else felt familiar. The family photos that had lined the entry wall were gone. The quilt Evelyn's late husband had made during his cancer treatment, gone too. In their place were sleek framed prints of beaches and abstract art. Sloane's taste. Jason appeared behind her, still in his tie from the bank, eyes avoiding his mother's. Hey, Mom, he muttered. Jason, Evelyn said, trying to keep her voice steady. This is my home, he swallowed. Mom, maybe we should sit down and... Sloane's smile sharpened. Evelyn, I think there's a misunderstanding. We've been handling all the paperwork for months now. The mortgage, the taxes, it's all under control. You don't need to worry about that anymore. Evelyn stared at her daughter-in-law. Under control, she repeated. I paid for this house in cash. No mortgage. No paperwork for you to handle. Sloane tilted her head, feigning sympathy. You've worked hard your whole life. You deserve to rest. Jason and I will take care of things now. This is our home. The words sliced through her like cold water. Our home. The woman she had once cooked for, the woman she'd welcomed with open arms, was now looking at her as if she were an intruder. Evelyn's throat tightened, but no tears came. There was only the steady pulse of disbelief giving way to something older and deeper. Resolve. I cleaned offices for 40 years, she said quietly. I scrubbed floors before sunrise, mopped them again after midnight. Every penny went into this house. It's not yours to take. Jason finally looked up, his expression uneasy. Mom, please, don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder, she repeated, almost laughing. You think this is hard? Try raising a child alone on a janitor's paycheck. Sloane sighed, already bored. We're not doing this. Things have changed, Evelyn. You can stay for a few days if you want, but... Evelyn cut her off. No. Her voice was calm now, almost gentle. I see perfectly clearly. The silence between them thickened. Behind Evelyn, a wind chime clinked softly. An old one her husband had hung before he died. It was the only sound that still belonged to her. She bent down, picked up her suitcase, and straightened slowly. Jason, she said, her voice steady as glass. When a woman my age smiles after her house has been stolen, it means she has something you don't expect. Sloane's expression faltered. What are you talking about? Evelyn met her eyes, calm, deliberate. About time, she said, sliding her phone from her purse. And proof. Sloane blinked, confused. Jason frowned, uneasy. But Evelyn was already walking down the steps toward the driveway, the late summer sky glowing behind her. The porch light flickered on automatically as the sun dipped below the trees. She didn't look back. Her voice carried softly through the air. You changed the lock, but you just opened the wrong door. The hum of the hotel's air conditioner was the only sound in the room. Evelyn Brooks sat on the edge of the bed, hands clasped, staring at the empty space in front of her. She had checked into the business-class hotel under her maiden name, Evelyn Lane, and paid for 2 weeks in advance. On the table beside her sat a notebook, a prepaid phone, and a single sentence scrawled across the first page. If they want a war, they'll get one, with receipts. Her first call was to Marcia Lee, her oldest friend. "Bring that recorder you use for HOA meetings," she said, "and maybe a pot of coffee. I have a story to tell you." Within an hour, Marcia arrived in her gardening hat and denim jacket, face set in grim disbelief as Evelyn poured out every detail: the changed locks, the inheritance, the insults wrapped in polite smiles. "That snake of a daughter-in-law," Marcia muttered, setting the recorder down with a thud. "What's the plan?" "The plan," Evelyn said, "is to let them think they're winning." Later that afternoon, she met Ray Ortiz, a private investigator with a grizzled beard and a calm, detective's stare. "Ex-cop, 20 years, he said, as he unpacked small black devices from his case. "We'll need eyes in the kitchen, the living room, and the hallway. Motion-activated, high definition. You authorize me, Mrs. Brooks." "Every inch," she replied. "It's my house. Let's document how they steal it." By nightfall, Ray had installed 3 cameras disguised as ordinary objects: a kitchen clock, a lamp, and a family photo frame. Evelyn watched the feed on her laptop from the hotel, her pulse steady. She had spent her life cleaning up other people's messes. Now she was ready to expose one. The next morning, she called her son. "Jason, sweetheart," she said, voice quivering just enough to sound fragile. "I'm going to Florida for a bit, to clear my head. When I get back, we'll do whatever paperwork you and Sloan think is best." Jason hesitated. "Mom, are you sure?" "I trust you," she lied. By the next day, Sloan's tone had shifted from hostility to syrup. "Oh, that's wonderful, Evelyn," she said sweetly over breakfast, unaware that the kitchen clock's red light blinked every few seconds. "We'll have everything ready when you return. Maybe even open a joint account. It'll make managing things easier." "Of course, dear," Evelyn replied softly. "Write down whatever I'll need to sign. I don't want to forget anything." That afternoon, the cameras caught Sloan pacing through the living room, phone to her ear. "Yes, Jared," she said to her cousin, a paralegal. "She's completely taken the bait. If we can get her signature samples, can your office reproduce them? She's 70, Jared. No one will question a thing." Evelyn paused the video, staring at Sloan's face, frozen mid-sentence. A chill ran down her spine, not from fear, but from recognition. That was the face of someone who believed she was untouchable. The next recordings were worse. A realtor toured the house, marveling at its flippable potential. Sloan's voice floated off camera. "Perfect. Let's list it for $520 before she gets back." Another clip captured her whispering to Jason in bed. "A little push, and she'll look senile. Maybe a doctor's note, some forgetful episodes. We can have her declared incompetent within 6 months." Evelyn's reflection on the laptop screen looked calm, but her fingers gripped the armrest until her knuckles turned white. "They're building a case," she thought. "So will I." The final piece came on a Thursday night. Ray delivered a drive full of recordings and a single clip that sealed everything. Sloan bragging to her mother, "I slipped her sleeping pills before the trip. She'll be foggy for days. By the time she figures it out, the papers will already be signed." Evelyn leaned back, eyes closed, letting the fury settle into focus. She wasn't just a victim anymore. She was evidence in motion. "Ray," she said quietly, handing him an envelope of cash. "You've done enough. Now it's my turn." "What's your move, ma'am?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "I'm going home." The next morning, she watched the sunrise bleed through the hotel curtains, her decision crystallizing like glass. She wasn't going to out-yell them. She was going to outthink them. And when she finally walked through that front door again, she'd make sure every word, every breath, every lie they told was played back for the world to hear. The October sun glared bright over the Columbus suburbs, a merciless, cloudless sky, the kind of day that looked innocent, perfect even, but felt like it was holding its breath. Evelyn Brooks stood at the edge of her driveway, a small suitcase in one hand, her cell phone hidden inside her palm and already recording. She had rehearsed this moment in her head for days, every word, every silence. When she pressed the doorbell, she didn't expect the door to open. It didn't. The lock was still changed, so she waited. And after a long pause, it was Sloane who appeared, framed in the doorway, her voice dripping sugar. "Evelyn, you're back already? I thought you'd stay longer in Florida." "I cut my trip short," Evelyn said, smiling faintly. "We need to talk. Call Jason. I'd like to speak to both of you, out back." Sloane hesitated. "Is this really necessary?" "Oh, yes," Evelyn said, her tone soft but sharp as glass. "Very." A few minutes later, the three of them stood in the backyard. The wind stirred the maple leaves. A dog barked 2 houses away. The setting looked like every other peaceful suburban afternoon. Patio furniture, a fire pit, a garden hose coiled by the fence. But something electric hung in the air. "Mom," Jason began carefully, "whatever this is, we can—" "Sit," she interrupted. Her calmness made them obey. Evelyn placed her phone on the patio table, screen down. "Let's talk about the house," she said. "About what you two have been planning while I was gone." Sloane scoffed, folding her arms. "We haven't been planning anything. You've been confused lately, Evelyn. Maybe you're forgetting." Evelyn pressed a button on her phone. Sloane's own voice filled the yard, tinny and clear. "The old woman is nearly ready to sign the house over to Jason. 6 months, and she's placed. Once we have the power of attorney, she's done." Jason froze. His mouth fell open. Sloane went pale. "Where did you get that?" Sloane demanded, her voice cracking. "From the kitchen clock," Evelyn said quietly. "And the living room lamp. And the phone line. You see, dear, when you change someone's locks, you'd better be sure they don't have the key to your secrets." Jason stood up suddenly, face flushed. "Mom, I didn't. She—" Evelyn cut him off. "You didn't stop her. That's what you didn't do." The second recording began automatically. "I slipped her sleeping pills before the trip. She'll be foggy for days. By the time she figures it out, the papers will already be signed." Sloane staggered back a step. "That's taken out of context," she screamed. "Context," Evelyn said, her voice rising for the first time. "Context is you selling my house before my body's even cold." For a moment, no one spoke. Then footsteps echoed from the side gate. The latch clicked, and in walked Marcia, attorney Carla Nguyen, and 2 uniformed officers. The color drained completely from Sloane's face. "Mrs. Brooks," Carla said politely, setting a folder on the table. "These are the individuals we discussed?" "Yes," Evelyn replied. "My son Jason Brooks and my daughter-in-law Sloane Carter Brooks." The officers stepped forward. "We have a warrant for your arrest," one announced. "Charges include family fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit property theft, and attempted elder abuse." Jason's knees gave out. Sloane tried to bolt for the back door, but one officer blocked her path. "You can't do this," she cried. "This is our home." Evelyn looked her dead in the eyes. "No, Sloane, it's mine. Paid for in sweat, and nights I never slept." Jason, sobbing now, tried to reach for his mother. "Mom, I didn't mean for this. Please, I'll fix it." Evelyn's voice softened just slightly. "Fix it? You can't fix what you broke inside me." The officers led them to the patrol cars waiting out front. Sloane's scream echoed across the yard. "You'll regret this, old woman." Evelyn followed them to the gate, her face unreadable. "Maybe," she said, "but not today." The patrol car doors slammed. Sirens wailed to life. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains as the blue lights disappeared down the street. Evelyn stood there, motionless, until only the hum of the cicadas remained. Carla touched her shoulder. "Are you ready to file the final paperwork, Mrs. Brooks?" Evelyn nodded slowly, her gaze sweeping over the backyard where it had all ended. "Yes," she said. "Let's make it official." Then she turned toward the house she had built with 40 years of sweat, and whispered to herself, barely audible beneath the rustling leaves, "You changed my locks. I just changed your lives." The courtroom smelled faintly of coffee and polished wood. Evelyn Brooks sat straight-backed at the plaintiff's table, her silver hair pinned neatly, her palms folded over a worn photograph of a little boy in a Halloween cape. The judge's gavel struck once, sharp and final, on charges of family fraud, forgery, and elder exploitation. Jason Brooks, 18 years. Sloane Carter Brooks, 22. The words echoed like music through the room. Jason bowed his head, shoulders shaking. Sloane didn't cry. She simply glared, her perfect posture crumbling only when the deputies took her by the arms. Evelyn watched without triumph. There was no victory in it, only balance restored. Outside, the wind was cool and clean. Reporters murmured questions, but she kept walking, her lawyer Carla Nguyen at her side. "It's done," Carla said gently. "The house is yours again. The court ordered restitution, and the assets they moved are frozen. You even get compensation for emotional damages." Evelyn stopped at the courthouse steps and looked up at the sky. "Can you really be compensated for losing your family?" she asked quietly. Carla hesitated, then shook her head. "No, but you can make peace with yourself." Weeks later, Evelyn packed what little she wanted from the old house. The modern furniture Sloane had filled it with was sold off. The walls, once sterile gray, now glowed with warm cream paint. Still, too many ghosts lingered in the corners. So she sold it, by her own choice this time, and bought a small craftsman bungalow on a tree-lined street in Clintonville. Her best friend Marcia Lee moved in next door. Every morning, they met on the porch for coffee, the smell of maple and cinnamon floating from Marcia's kitchen. The air was different here, unhurried, honest. Evelyn planted daisies by her fence and replaced the porch light with one that cast a soft amber glow at dusk. For the first time in years, she slept without locking her bedroom door. One Saturday, Carla stopped by with a stack of papers. "These are your updated legal documents," she said. "No more broad power of attorney. No one can touch your estate without your signature. You've got safeguards now." Evelyn smiled faintly as she signed each page. "Dignity," she said, laying down the pen. "That's what this really is, isn't it? Putting your name on your own life again." In the afternoons, she volunteered at the local community college, setting up a small scholarship, the Arthur Brooks Grit Grant, for janitors' children. "For the ones who grow up watching their parents scrub floors," she told the dean. "They deserve a door that opens easily." Some evenings, she sat by the window, watching the neighborhood kids ride bikes past her house. Sometimes she'd see a little boy in a red cape, laughing as he pretended to fly. Each time, her chest ached, softly, not painfully. She would reach for the photograph on her table. Jason at age 5, his smile pure, his eyes untouched by greed. She spoke to that picture like a prayer. "Son, I hope prison teaches you something I never could. That love without respect is just another kind of theft." Marcia once asked, "Do you ever think you'll forgive him?" Evelyn didn't answer right away. She watched the sunset bleed across the horizon, gold turning to ember. "Maybe one day," she said, "but forgiveness doesn't mean unlocking the door again." Months passed. The story spread through town. A mother who fought back, who outwitted her own betrayers with quiet strength. Neighbors waved when she passed. Some called her brave. She only smiled. Bravery wasn't what she'd felt that day on the porch when the key wouldn't turn. It had been something else, something colder, steadier. The realization that her worth didn't depend on anyone's love. On her 68th birthday, Evelyn stood at the entrance of her new home. The sun was setting, golden light spilling across the porch steps. She slid a new brass key into the lock. It turned smoothly, without resistance. She lingered in the doorway, breathing in the quiet. Behind her, the wind carried the distant sound of children's laughter. Ahead of her lay peace, not loud, not triumphant, but earned. She smiled, whispering to herself, "Some locks you change to keep danger out. Some locks you change to let yourself in." And with that, she stepped inside.